Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Saldana, in response to a letter that I sent to you along with Chairman Grassley, you mentioned that in the Altamirano case, he posted, quote, he posted $10,000 bond after his immigration hearing, which means that he became obligated to report to ICE upon demand. And that at the time of the most recent criminal offense, ICE had not triggered his obligation to report on demand. Now, he was released from custody in January of 2013. He was arrested for murder January 22nd, 2015, over 2 years. Was there any contact with ICE during that period between ICE and Mr. Altamirano?
He was in proceedings. That's then involved. He's involved with the court, with the immigration courts. Whether ICE had some communication with him in that 2-year period, I don't know, Senator.
Do you know if the immigration court or anybody had any contact with him?
You know, I haven't looked at that specifically, sir.
Is that typical for somebody to go two full years with seemingly no contact at all?
It can happen, given the 500,000 case backlog with the immigration courts.
ICE's policy for triggering a convicted alien's obligation to report, you mentioned that you didn't see him because there was nothing that triggered an obligation to report. Has that policy been changed in terms of triggers for reporting? In light of this case and others, has there been any change?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
How many times has ICE revoked bail for those that have been put out on bail like this?
Oh, it happens with some regularity. I can't give you a percentage, but I'm happy to provide that to you for a specific period.
Mm-hmm. One thing that was just striking about this is the lack of cooperation and coordination and even notification between federal and local officials. In response to the letter that Chairman Grassley and I sent to you, you mentioned that ICE is working to implement a new initiative called the Law Enforcement Notification System, or LENS. In your testimony, you mentioned that LENS has been deployed in 11 states and full implementation is expected by the end of the year. What's stopping that from being implemented in the other 39 states?
Because we have to work with each state office that gets notices out to their counties and communities. Some, like mine, have a lot of counties. It's complex. We have to make our systems compatible to talk, and so we started with 3 states as test cases, Texas being one of them. And it worked pretty well there. We've expanded it to these 11, now to the total of 11. And there's a period of time that you have to work out kinks because we want to be sure to get this right. And that's what we've been going through right now. It's just the test program. We're past that. We now have expanded it to the 11. We are liking what we're seeing, and I think we'll be there by the end of the year.
Is this being handled with a little more urgency now?
I would like to see it done earlier than the end of the year, sir. I will stay on it, I assure you, to make sure it gets done as quickly as we possibly can.
So by the end of the year, you believe that we'll be able to say that in all 50 states we have better notification requirements?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Saldana, in Director Rodriguez's testimony, he mentioned that 43,375 new DACA requests were denied. 414 renewal requests have been denied. Of these, approximately 44,000 denied requests, how many have been deported?
Of what requests? I'm sorry, sir.
Of these, there are 43,375 DACA requests that were denied, and then 414 renewal requests have been denied. If somebody is not able to access DACA, then they are still eligible for deportation, or that is demanded. How many of those have been deported?
I can't give you the specific number, but they go in, whether they're DACA or not eligible, sir, we look at ours the same way we do anybody else. The DACA doesn't get them a free pass. We have to look at them on a case-by-case basis as to what's the next step, whether we detain someone, whether, what level of bond we place if we release them, that kind of thing. So it's all done on the whole facts and circumstances surrounding that individual, including criminal history.
But if they've done something or have an offense that makes them ineligible, you would assume that they're being looked at now. Can you give me any ballpark of how many of those have been deported, of the 44,000 DACA cases that people who were not able to access DACA?
I assure you I will get that to you, sir, as soon as I can get someone to look at it and get us an accurate number for you. I'd rather not throw out a ballpark.
All right, thank you. Mr. Rodriguez, in the case of the murder of Kate Steinle, the individual, Mr. Sanchez, was here in the country illegally. Obviously, he'd been deported 5 times. That means that he was able to come back across the border illegally 5 times. Obviously, border security is something that we're very concerned about in Arizona, and this committee is extremely concerned about. There's one program that we've had, Operation Streamline in Arizona, a secure or sure consequences program, and it's helped significantly in Yuma. We've been able to bring repeat crossings down significantly. Yet the Department of Justice seems to be now backing away from that program. What are your thoughts there?
Well, Senator, as you know, I administer the immigration benefit structure. I don't operate border security.
I understand that, but
I certainly support border security, and I'm sure Commissioner Kurlikowski would be able to address those concerns that you have, sir.
Those are serious concerns. We want to make sure the programs that we actually have working continue, and we have one that's working here in Arizona, and we're very concerned that it's not being fully implemented. The fact that Mr. Sanchez was able to so easily return across the border 5 times in the case, in California is very disturbing, but not surprising, frankly. So I thank you for your testimony. Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.